I think we can start.
Yes.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to all our participants. And of course, a very happy new year. This is the first program that MRC has organized in 2022. And we begin with a very interesting book talk on the Pathare Kshatriya community. We have with us Indologist Sandeep Dahisarkar, who has written this book entitled Pathare Kshatriyas of Mumbai. This book was published recently and released recently at the Asiatic Society of Mumbai. And now Sandeep Dahisarkar is going to talk about this book. The book mainly focuses on the history of the Pathare Kshatriya or the Pachkalashi community, and it forms an extension to the history of medieval and modern Bombay. It is considered one of the migration of the Pathare Kshatriya community is considered one of the earliest recorded migrations in history. And this warrior class migrated to Bombay along with Pratapa Bimba, and it has contributed immensely to the culture of the city. Sandeep Dahisarkar, who is the author of this book himself, is an Indologist and an art historian based in Mumbai. He is also the founder director of the Shilahara Heritage Services, Mumbai. At present, he works as a cultural consultant at the Holkar Cultural Center, Maheshwar, Madhya Pradesh. He topped his bachelor's degree in ancient Indian culture and archaeology from the University of Mumbai. After completing his master's in ancient Indian culture and archaeology from St. Xavier's College, Mumbai, he worked at the Department of Ancient Indian Culture and Archaeology, Sathe College, as an assistant professor. Later, he also worked at the Department of History, Sophia College, as a visiting faculty, and he is also a guest lecturer at various colleges of Mumbai for the subject of archaeology and history. He has curated and has successfully conducted heritage walks, including the heritage walks at Vileparle East, Bandra, Juhu, thematic heritage walks such as the statues of the fort, and specially curated walks around the life of Punya Shlok Ahilya Bai Holkar at Maheshwar, etc. He was also awarded the Gulistan Bilimoria Junior Research Fellowship 2017 of the Asiatic Society of Mumbai for the topic, The Cultural History of the Pathare Kshatriyas in the Bombay Presidency. This book is based on the report of that fellowship. So welcome, Sandeep. We all look forward to your talk.
Thank you so much. I hope the presentation is visible. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Oh, great. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank the Asiatic Society of Mumbai and its Mumbai Research Center for inviting me to deliver this talk on my first book, which was published on 1st of January. I thank all the members who have supported my research when I was working on this fellowship called Gulistan Bilimoria Research Junior Research Fellowship. Now I begin with this talk. The Pathare Kshatriyas of Bombay are also known as the Pathkalashis or Somangshi Kshatriya Pathares. So this talk is not about the Pathare Prabhus because the word Pathare is very confusing. There are many historians who have worked on history of Bombay, like Madgaonkar, Jarsanda Kunha, S.M. Edwards, Rao Bahadur P.B. Joshi, Pusalkar and Dighe, and very few historians have discussed history of this community in their books. So I was very surprised to find very less information which was documented in the colonial period. So I started looking for more information in the gazetteers, and then fortunately Enthoven had recorded something in his books, The Tribes and Castes of Bombay, wonderful documentation of the communities living in the Bombay presidency. This community also had produced historians called Professor N.S. Takakau, who is a well-known was a well-known history, Latin, and English professor, and then scholar like G.G. Naik, Gajanan Govinda Naik, who have written in detail about Pathare Kshatriyas, uh, but in Marathi, and they mostly worked on documentation of the uh, historical documents which they had in their family collection. So when I uh, started working on this particular topic, uh, my to begin with, Mahikavatichi Bakhar was the only literary source which was with me, which could give more information on the medieval period of Mumbai, which is pre-Portuguese period. So I started looking for more and more information, and then I found certain things which become the part of this particular research. Uh, when I was looking for archaeological evidences, because Naik and Takakau, they don't speak about archaeological evidences or epigraphical evidences uh, about Raja Pratapa Bimba and how these communities migrated. So I started looking for these sources, but unfortunately I couldn't find any. But I found one reference when I went to the family of Desais of Malad, the main family, the main house of Desai. They said we had one copper plate which was given to a Brahmin scholar from Pune to study, but he never returned it back. So we don't know who the scholar was, where it is now. Nothing is known. In fact, we also don't know from which king this copper plate was received. The most important thing I would like to also highlight is the word salset is the term or the name used for the island of the suburban island of Bombay. Okay, and the Marathi name for it is Sashti. The Sanskrit name is Shatashashti, which was a Vishaya or a province in the Shilahara period, and Shatashashti, Sahasashti, which is 66 in Marathi. It was a group of 66 villages. So I was also looking for many uh, archaeological sources and also visiting temples of Bombay when I was working. So a family called Goregaonkar uh, invited me to attend their famous Ram Mandir's uh, Ram Navami festival. And I went there, and to my surprise, when I entered the temple, this is the front view, and this is the back view. And to my surprise, I found this very unusual looking sculpture painted, and it looked like a leopard. And I was wondering what the hell this leopard is doing, that too on the backside of the temple. And that was a head of a lion, which normally is found on the top of the shikhara of ancient temples. And then I found that uh, pillars, and then a kichaka, which is a pillar capital bracket, and then a Shiva head. And later on, I also worked on Malad and Madh area, and then I could find there this beautiful uh, reference of Brahmakunda in the Mahikavatichi Bakhar. And then I went to Madh and asked people if this thing really exists or not. And then people living in the native people living in the area, they uh, helped me find this particular spot, and this is Brahmakunda, which I could find. It is uh, completely, fully destroyed, completely gone. But you can see the steps, which are like the construction was done in joint locking system, which is also commonly used in the temples. So I could find that here. And when I started thinking about what is happening in Bombay, what is happening in pre-Portuguese period of Bombay, so I opened Mahikavatichi Bakhar and I could find a reference to uh, Mukteshwara temple, which is in Madh, which is quite closely located to this particular step tank. And then I could find reference to Vaikeshwar temple. I could find reference to the uh, Yogeshwara temple, which is today's Jogeshwari caves. Okay, it was once a Shaiva Pashupata site, but I could not find reference of this Rameshwara temple, which is located next to the Ram Mandir. So that temple, which was destroyed possibly in some due to some invasion, uh, was rebuilt by the famous contractor from this community, Harishchandra Jagannathji Goregaonkar. So we don't find reference of this particular Rameshwara temple or Shiva temple from Oshiwara region. Uh, and then I started thinking about this another old archaeological site of Brahmakunda, and I found a reference to this particular Brahmakunda in Mahikavatichi Bakhar, which talked about one murder of a minister done by a fisherman. That is a very interesting story. But we don't find any direct evidence related to the minister, or maybe Bimbadeva, in the uh, in form of archaeological sources. So it is very difficult to understand, and even today it is very difficult to prove the historicity of Mahikavatichi Bakhar and Raja Bimbadev. But whatever my research I have presented in form of this book, uh, I have tried to prove the historicity. It is just a second step after working on the archaeological sites. I worked on this community history. So I tried to connect this with the Mahikavatichi Bakhar. So now there are many historical documents like this Ashtichi Bakhar, which highlights the name Bimbasthana. And but apart from the literary evidences, we did not had any information about Bimbasthana in form of archaeological or epigraphical evidence till like 2016. uh, I was also part of this Sunset Explorations project, both seasons. And this stone inscription in Marathi Sanskrit language was discovered. Only a part of it is today available, but it dates back to 1368 AD and refers to Ambir Khan as a vassal of Delhi Sultan uh, Firoz Shah Tughlaq. And we also find names like Mahim Bimbasthana. So it is confirmed that Raja Bimba was a historical personality, archaeological evidence, and which is available in form of BARC inscription. So apart from Mahim Bimbasthana, places like Maror and Nanare, which is near Mankhur, Devnare, which is Devnar, are uh, found. The names are found in this particular inscription. So when I started working on Mahikavatichi Bakhar is basically Bimbakhyana. It is the text of Bimbakhyana, which was published before Rajwade in 1877 by Raghunath Puttaraji Rane of this particular community. And Rane says that he also has 2 copies of this text. And apart from that, he has seen people having copies of Bimbakhyana in Mumbai, Sashti, Damad, Mumbai, Paitan region. And he has also observed that even East Indian families have maintained such manuscripts. Okay, he also refers to a manuscript dated 1663 of Shri Bimbakhyana written by Shri Lakshmanji. So there were other copies which were produced, and P.P. Joshi, Rao Bahadur P.V. Joshi, belonged to the Yajurvedi Brahmin community of Bombay. He talks about two copies. Then V.K. Rajbade found one copy which he published in 1924. Then Gajaran Govind Naik talks about three manuscripts in his collections. Uh, then there is one which was discovered by late Mr. A.P. Save, which was found in Chinsadi. Then a part of this particular manuscript was published in the Samaj Patrika or community magazine of Pathare Kshatriyas called Kshatrivritta in 1921, which I found. And it was published under the title as Varari Sa Itihas, but it describes Mahim instead of Varari. So, and it also calls Mahim as Bimbastan. So these references are very much important in understanding the history of Bombay. So why this Bimbakhyana is very important. Now, the original title is Bimbakhyana, but Rajwade is the one who calls it Mahikavatichi or Mahimchi Bakhar. And he is the one who has first studied this particular document seriously, and has written a huge, a very long prastavana or preface for this particular book. So his understanding, his expertise of understanding this particular Bakhar is very important. So this Bimbakhyana has 6 chapters, and it was completed between mid 15th to late 16th century by different writers. That is the reason he calls Keshavacharya the Kruta. Okay, Keshavacharya and others. So this Keshavacharya wrote this he wrote this chapter of 31 pages, which was the beginning of the writing of Bimbakhyana. He belonged to the Yajurvedi Brahmin community, and his descendants still they live in Vadhav village near Chembur, and the last name is Acharya. So he was basically Keshava Acharya. So a meeting was organized by the Desai of Malad, whose name was Naiko Rao, in Mahazapur, which is near Yogeshwari or Jogeshwari caves, in presence of 521 Brahmins and other people. And about 3,655 people from Kevre to Mahim were invited to participate in this 21-day long program. And they attended this program. They sat under a mandap, which was made there. And about 66 authorized copies of this second chapter were copied alone and distributed among the invited families. So this was the first chapter which was written, and then the other chapters were included later by different people and compiled together to form the present Bimbakhyana. So as I mentioned, about 66 villages. This connects the dot again. 66 copies were made. So it is quite possible that every village head received a copy of the manuscript. Now, the migration story is again very important. It also highlights the number 66. So about 66 families were migrated with this king called Pratapa Bimba of Champaner. He took permission of his elder brother Govardhan Bimba for North Konkan campaign, and he came down to Python. Instead of coming down straight down towards south, he came down to Python, and it is quite possible because it suggests strong presence of the Shilaharas of Shri Sthanaka, whose capital was modern Thane city. So at that time, Apararka, King Apararka was ruling the North Konkan. So he, after 2 years, he then went to Daman, and from Daman he started conquering land towards south, and then he reached Varkeshwar. So after conquering this region, he requested his elder brother to send his son Bimbadeva to like get all these 66 families to this newly conquered land and for their permanent settlement. Now, when they came here, apart from 66 families, the number is actually very high. It is 90, but traditionally the number is believed 66 in the Bakhar. And along with these 66 families, Yajurvedi Brahmins from Python also arrived in Bombay. Now, I started looking for evidences, archaeological evidences on Raja Bimba, and then I could find some references in the books which were published in the British period. So S.M. Edwards talks about Bhim Raja's Wadi, which is between Parel and Vadara. Then a Jatra was also organized in his honor. So it also talks about that. Then one inscription was found, a Marathi inscription was found in Uran, which talks about Bhim Rajacha, means the lake which belonged to the Bhim Raja and was called Bhimale, and it became Bemla in Portuguese period and later as Vimla Talao. Then Rao Bahadur P.B. Joshi also talks about one donative inscription or Danshira, uh, which was found, I believe, in Mahim region. And in 1887, he, along with a person from Paris, had visited this site to inspect the language and other details. Again, P.B. Joshi talks about two hero stones which were called Bhim Raja's Hatti Se Pai, or feet of Bhim Raja's elephants. So these were again destroyed, so we don't know to which period this inscription, this hero stones belonged. Further, he also talks about a Persian Farman of Nawab Chand Khan, who was Subha of the province of Daman, dated 1495. And he talks about Bimba Shah as son of Ramdev Rao Yadav. Then Pratap Velkar, who is a Pathare Prabhu historian from Bombay, he mentions copper plates of Bimba Deva, which were in possession of Pathare Prabhus, which were checked in 1779 by His Holiness Shankaracharya of Sringeri during Peshwa Savai Madharao's period. Then another reference is found in Cheulchi Bakhar. Cheul is Saul. This document also talks about Rajput Raja Bimba, who ruled over it from 1283 AD to 1358 AD, and he was defeated by a fisherman. So I couldn't find any more information on Raja Bimbadev, so I started looking for more information. And then I found that these communities, these four communities, have a common past. The Pathare Kshatriyas, also known as Pachkalashis, also known as Somavamshi Kshatriya Pathares or SKPs. Then the second group is Pathare Prabhus, in which they have Suryavamshi and Somavamshi group. The third group is a different group called Somavamshi Kshatriya Pachkalshi group, which is different from the Bombay Pachkalshis, and they are mainly found in the Tarapur, Chinceni, Palghar region. Then there is another group called Suryavamshi Kshatriyas, who are also commonly found in Palghar district, and families like Dhuru and Kavadi in Dadar are quite well known, and they come from this particular community. So these four communities are today different and different from each other, and they believe that they had migrated with Raja Bimba or Bimba Deva. So when I started looking for information on the families of like who migrated with Raja Bimba, I could find information on Somavamshi and Suryavamshi Kshatriyas, and these are their Gotra Pravara and Kulaswamini details, Kuldevata details, which are found in the Mahikavatichi Bakhar or Bimbakhyana. So every family has their a particular gotra and Kula Devata or Kula Swamini. So I started looking for who these people were, and then when I was looking uh, in the Soma Vamshi Kshatriya list, I could find even my family details in that list. The Gotra Pravara matched with my family, so it was very surprising for me. And then I started looking for more information. I started checking details of other families, and from 25 given Somongshi Kshatriya details, I could trace around 22 families, and then four family details of Pathare Prabhus from Surya Vamshi Kshatriya branch. It matched, and then three families, three queers from Surya Vamshi Kshatriyas matched. So it is very interesting to see. But apart from that, these families which migrated first with Raja Bimbadeva, there are many other people in the community. So what about them? So it is quite possible that the remaining ones joined later, or they came as part of the second or third migration, which must have happened uh, when the capital of Mahim or Bimbasthana was established in the medieval period before Portuguese came to Bombay. Now, what is this Pachkalashi? Now, this Pachkalashi, the term Pachkalashi is basically an honor. The Mahikavatichi Bakhar talks about the Shatra Dharma, or the duties of uh, a Kshatriya or a warrior caste. So this Marathi Bakhar mentions, if you see the last two lines, Simhasana Panchakalashi, Muguta Manjiri Ghoshi, Chhatre Pans Shobhesi, Vadhuvara Karane. So a Simhasana with five kalashas and five chatras was constructed, and it was mainly used by only Pathare Kshatriyas, not by Pathare Prabhus, not by Suryavamshi Kshatriyas, but also by Somangshi Kshatriya Pachkalshis from Palghar, Tarapur, Chinsedi region. Only these two communities had the right to use, and this right was bestowed by Raja Bimbadeva himself. So this is very much important, and so this right was or this honor was given to them. That this is why the Pathare Kshatriyas were also called Pachkalshis. So this is very important. When I was looking for more references, I have mainly worked on, I have like studied mainly Marathi sources, because when history of Bombay is written, Marathi sources were not used comparatively like what English sources are used. So I started looking for more Marathi sources. And in the Adhikari Shakavali, I found one reference of uh, a Balaji Sutar Mumbaikar. A person from his family is getting married to Hari Dadaji Sutar Revdandakar. Revdanda is Saul. So, and for that particular marriage, a Simhasana was brought. So, in the colonial period, there was a problem between the Ashtagarkars or Chaul people, which who were not, I mean, whose girls were not accepted by the Mumbaikar Pachkalshis, who were more educated and so on. But this is the reference from 18th century, which is very important, which proves that marriages between the Ashtagarkars and Sashtikars or Mumbaikars, which are the subdivisions of the Pathare Kshatriyas, regional differences. Though there were these regional differences, marriages took place between these families, or Ashtagarkars and Sashtikars. So this is very important. Now, Pachkalshis are also called Sutars because they had later on adopted the profession of Sutar. So why is this so? The Mahikavatichi Bakhar is the only text which is available now, which talks about, which comments on this particular profession, which was adopted by Kshatriyas, Pachkalashi Kshatriyas or Pathare Kshatriyas. So, according to Gigi Naik's Rane copy of Bimbakhyana, when the king Bimbadev, he was in discussion with his minister, he wanted to construct ships to protect his kingdom as it was located near sea. So he had requested a king from Chaul whose name is Jasak Deva to send some shipbuilders. So he sent Ransod Wadia and Narayan Wadia. So Wadia is basically, they are the shipbuilders. So it is not something which is limited to only Parsis. It is basically a title or you can say a last name which is based on the profession of the person. So uh, Ransod Wadia and Narayan Wadia came to Mahim, and the king ordered them to construct ships. But both requested that we are only two people, so we need more people to assist us. So four people from Koyamba and four people from Shiramba or Shilaika lineages, total 8 people were assigned this job. But these people hesitated. They said, we belong to a community which is of high caste. We cannot do this inferior job of a panchada or a carpenter. We can easily lose our caste. So uh, the king officially made an announcement that though these people are doing the carpenter's job, they will be still part of their own community. They shall be allowed to eat with their community members, okay, which is the Pangat system. Rudra Gayatri and thread ceremony shall be maintained, and their Shatra Dharma shall still survive. They won't become Pancharas, and this is because for the whatever they are doing, this is for the protection of the kingdom. They have learned this art of carpentry. So this is very important. So what my interpretation of this Kolamba and Shidamba thing was that these people are the followers of Shilai Devi and Kolambika Devi. Both interestingly, both these goddesses are found in near Nashik, and uh, I feel they are the followers and the first people to learn the art of carpentry, and then later on they taught this art of carpentry to other people. Yeah. Now, as you look at the Devi Gotra list, which is found in the Mahikavatichi Bakhar or Bimbakhyana, it is observed that these people are Shaktas, which means they are the Shakti worshippers or goddess worshippers. So goddesses like Prabhavati or Prabhadevi, then Twarita or Narayani in Delhi, and then Mahalakshmi of Dahanu, or the Harbai Hardai goddesses from Madh are worshipped, are commonly worshipped. Even the Pathare Prabhus have also worshipped some of these goddesses. So the most important historical episode after the Portuguese period, or in the Portuguese period, which is found in historical documents, is of the Battle of Vasai, which was fought between 1737 to 1739. And the family of Naiks of Anzurkars, who were called Sardar Anzurkars, were the ones who were responsible to meet Peshwa Bajirao the first, and he was the one who ordered his younger brother Chimraji Appa, who took responsibility of this Basin campaign or Vasai campaign, and with the help of Sardar Anzurkar Naiks and other 8 families from this community, the Vasai campaign became successful, and Vasai was freed from the cruel rule of the Portuguese. So this Sashtichi Bakhar talks about important life episodes of Gangaji Naik and his journey of how Vasai was freed, how he found the Ganpati, which is now venerated in the 270-year-old uh, Naik family's Vada, which is very beautiful. I'll show you some pictures. So the Deshnar Gowda Vatan was lost after the battle of after this battle of Vasai. The Naiks lost their Deshnar Gowda Vatan. The Desai of Malad lost his Vatan because Peshwa Bajirao the first had died. Chimnaji Appa, who had promised to give back Vatans, had also died till then. And Peshwa Balaji Bajirao, son of Bajirao the first, had become the new Peshwa. And to meet him, Gangaji Naik had went to uh, Peshwa's Shaniwar Wada, and there he refused, by saying that we have uh, spent too much money on this particular campaign, and it is difficult at the moment to return the Watans back. So Naiks, who were originally from Bandra, which is Vandre, they lost their Watan and they stayed in Anzur. Okay. The other is a letter which is now with the Directorate of Archives of Maharashtra State, Mumbai, uh, talks about the origin of Nikes and connects with them with the Solankis. So this is very important reference, which is found in the Maratha period. This is their family tree. Family trees are very important. They talk about different branches. They talk about number of people living in the family. Sometimes they also give different evidences. Now, because of this family tree, I could find, I could tell that the Naiks are not Somavamshis; they are Suryavamshis. So, in similarly, like Pathare Prabhus have Suryavamshi and Somavamshi families. Pathare Kshatriyas, who are prominently known as Somavamshis, there are few Suryavamshi families, and I have identified them. So the Mantris of Varadis are also Suryavamshis and not Somavamshis. Uh, then there are some family trees. This is the family tree of Ranes of Juhu, which I reconstructed, which is based on the information available in the Bimbakhyana. So when Rane published, Putraji Rane published Bimbakhyana, he also uh, added a chapter on his family history, and then from that we get this family tree, and a branch of this particular family was converted by the Portuguese. So this Ranes of Juhu, who were also originally from Vandre, modern Bandra, a family stayed back in Bandra and was converted, and it is believed that, I believe that this place called Ranuar is named after these Ranes of Juhu. So there are many other family trees, but because of limited time, I cannot show you everything. For that, you have to read the book. This is the 270-year-old Vada of Nikes, which is near Bhivandi in Anzur village. This is the veranda. These are the beautiful carvings, the brackets, figures. This is another beautiful Vada, which is found in Sappade village, which is near Virar. And when I visited this Vada, I was very much surprised to know that my grandfather has stayed in this Vada, and the family is connected to my family. Now, this particular Vada is very important because its facade is painted in traditional Maratha style, with traditional Maratha style murals. Now, there are also simple Vadas like this, which is found in Sopare, which is Nala Sopara. Now, from this to, if you see from in the Maratha period, you see people living in Vadas. Then you see people living in the vernacular style of architecture. So this is the famous bungalow which was constructed by contractor Harishchandra Jagannathji Koregaonkar, which is now in Gaudevi. Now, families. Talking about families, the Pathare Kshatriyas lived in joint families. This is the Naik family. You see them in the traditional Marathi attire. And then with introduction of English rule, people started wearing coats. but they continued to wear dhotis and pagdis. And then it became something like this, more sophisticated, more uh, style, and clean and very fine taste. So this is the Pangat style, the traditional Marathi style of Pangat, where the community members sit together and have food. Now, the Pathare Kshatriyas wore different types of turbans, and I really don't have any idea about which pagadi is called what, but they are very much similar to Puneri pagadi. But I cannot call them Puneri pagadi because every pagadi has a specific name. So I could not find any specific like specimens of this pagadi. So I don't know anything about the structure of these pagdis. So I have not commented about these pagdis. Maybe in the revised edition, the second or third edition, I would like to add something about the pagdis worn by the men. The ladies were extremely talented. They were also good cooks, and they could also uh, make all these embroideries, which were also presented in very many art exhibitions, which were uh, organized in the colonial period. So they could send such things to the exhibitions to be displayed there. So when the newly married couple, this is a photograph of a newly married couple. You can see there are different types of uh, old ornaments which were worn by the bride. And this is a bakuri har. Then this is another different type of har with typical colonial style bangles, and these are Shiteshahi Tode. You can see the bangles which this lady is wearing, the caps and the nath, the bazu banda. Then these ladies were very fashionable, and then this uh, gold flowers with like which are attached to a spring. So if the lady moved her head, the flowers would also move. So this was the fashion in the late 19th century, early 20th century. So saris, like this is a very fine specimen of an Ashavali sari. Sorry. And ladies would wear such kind of jari saris on special occasions, on pujas, during marriages. The ladies also committed sati in the medieval period, and I could find only two examples of sati system. The one on your left is uh, from Thane, like the wife of Budhaji Naik, or Bughaji Naik, who died in the battle of in the battle of Vasai. His wife committed sati, and this particular samadhi is found next to the Kaupinishwar temple of Thane. The other is uh, uh, other samadhi is completely fallen down, and this particular samadhi belonged to a lady from the Kotwal family of the community who stayed in Anzur. So this is in Anzur, which is near Bhiwandi. So there were widows, and their life was very simple. They had to shave their hair, and they could wear alwan or white sari. Uh, so this is a bust, a very beautiful bust made by Bombay school artist N.K. Goregaonkar. Then there are many temples which were built by the community members. This is Parari Vaijanath Sangameshwar temple, which belongs to the Parelkar family in Parel. Then the Chandika Devi temple belongs to the Chandika Devasthan. The beautiful Kashi Vishweshwar temple in Lower Mahim or Matunga, which was rebuilt in the 18th century. And possibly after 1750s only. And this this is a beautiful pillar bracket, very similar to Raja Ravi Verma's uh, print chromolithograph of Matsya Avatar with 4 Vedas. Then Bhulingeshwar Temple of Chembur, the Kedareshwar Temple of Matres, which is in Varadi. Then the Siddheshwar Temple of the it was built by Patil family, but I believe the trustees are from Mantri family today, and this is in Cotton Green. And a Pyau was also built by a person from this Patil family, which is next to this temple. Then the famous Mankeshwar temple, which is today under the Mantri family. So around 6 temples were built by Mantri family in Mumbai and Thane region. So we find their references in some books. Again, Nilkanteshwar temple, which is uh, presently managed by the Mantri family of the Kaundinya Gotra. A Dharmashala, which is also part of the Varadi, Gupchar and Bhoye Samsthan, and Nilkanteshwar temple. Again, this is managed by uh, the Pathare Kshatriyas. Another temple in Varadi, which is near, I believe, Varadi Naka, and it is called Satyanarayan Temple. It was built by the Raute family from Varadi, and it was donated to a Brahmin from North India. Another important temple is the Mahim's Vithoba temple, which belongs to the Mahimkar family, and its shikhara is very unusual and gothic, and it reminded me of this Elphinstone building, which is next to the St. Xavier's College. And to my surprise, when I visited I met the family members, Mahinkars, I found a similar Devhara in their house, whose shikhara matched with that particular temple, and they believe that this shikhara must have been the served as the model for the temple. So they believe this particular devhara or the family household shrine is older than the temple. This is the Vithoba, the Ganpati on the Lalata Bimba of the temple. Another important temple is the Jagadamba Temple, very old. Then the Gaudevi Temple. The present structure was designed by famous architect G.B. Mhatre, whose buildings are now part of the Art Deco Gothic ensemble. He also designed another temple in Prabhadevi, which is the Dattatreya Temple, which is under Varadi Gupchar Bhoye Samsthan. Then the Juhu's Zakhamata, Tungari Pathari Zakhamata temple with Brahmakunda. So there is this another Brahmakunda, which was dug which was excavated by uh, Pudholaji Raghunath Rane in Juhu. So this is private property of Ranis of Juhu. Then a community organization of Pathare Kshatriyas. They maintain this temple. They are custodians of this particular temple, which is Hanuman Temple in Malavadi, in Malad, and the famous Sogle family's temple from Babai Borivali of Vitthal Rukmini Maruti Panchayat. Now talking about the organization, the Kshatriya Union Club. The Pathare Kshatriyas were also one of the earliest English speakers, and before the University of Mumbai was established, most of them uh, uh, they managed to get a Western style of education, and spoke English fluently. And the educated class, which was like produced, they decided to form the Kshatriya Union Club, which is called also called Kshatriya Samaj. Around 30 people were the founding members, and they founded this particular social organization. And this Janardhan Raghova Vanmari, along with Vinayak Pararkar, uh, were the prominent people who managed this particular organization. And this was founded on 1st January 1885. This is a picture of annual party in 1896, where you can see Vanmari holding the Kshatriya Union flag. This is the modern, very beautiful Art Deco structure of Kshatriya Samaj, and they were progressive. They could also organize education, Shikshan Parishads, education related meetings, gatherings. Another important organization was founded by five people living in Gaudevi, and it is called the Pathare Kshatriya Vaktrutva Tejak Samaj, which was founded in 1893. The Samaj started publishing their own their own community magazines like Shatra Vrutta, Shatra Dood, Shatra Deep, Pathare magazine, and the fifth one, which is presently uh, in like it is being published, is by Kshatriya Samaj, and it is called the Pathare Kshatriya Patrika. Then there were many important prominent people from this particular community. You have J.R. Vanmari. I talked about him in detail. Then you have the second solicitor from this community, whose name is Solicitor Janardhan Gopal Mantri. Sorry, second solicitor from the Bombay presidency. Then you have Tapasvi Ramji Lakshman Kharat, who lived a long life of 95 years, and uh, he was a leader from uh, this Alibag region. Then you have there were many important writers from this community. The first one is written by the first book is written by, actually it is a translation. It's called Yatrik Raman, and it was translated by Hari Keshavji Pathare. And the middle book is is actually Sangeet Sambhaji Natak, and it was written by Atmaram Moreshwar Pathare. This particular Sangeet Natak was banned by the British because of the patriotism which was being highlighted during its various shows in Dharwad, Mumbai, Pune region. Then there was another doctor called Dr. Panduranga Gopal Mantri. He was a well-known eye surgeon, and he wrote many books. One of them is this uh, book. Then there were many painters, many artists from this community, like N.G. Mantri, who was guru of M.V. Dhurandhar. Then you have uh, Vinayak Pathare, who you can see has drawn this beautiful, huge portrait of Maharaja Sayajirao Gaikwad, and he was also the president of the Bombay Art Society. And then his wife Prema Pathare, who was student of Khadankar, you can see her. She has drawn a painting of some ghat near a river. Then you have a generation of sculptors. I mean, Rao Bahadur G.K. Mhatre, the first uh, Indian sculptor from pre-independence period. Then you have uh, B.K. Goregaonkar, N.K. Goregaonkar, and N.G. Pansare. You have Mhatre's son Shamrao Mhatre, uh, were important sculptors from the Bombay School of Art. Then you have architect G.V. Mhatre, a well-known architect of Bombay, and the one who made Art Deco very much popular. Then architects like Shankar Rao Parelkar, B.D. Mhatre, Khanderao Parelkar. These are all important architects of Bombay. G.B. Mhatre is the most documented and researched architect. People should now work on these personalities because they are not researched in detail. So I request the historians, scholars, and researchers to also focus on these people. So I have documented around 54 eminent personalities from this community. So it is very important. Please look into this. Then famous contractor Harishchandra Jagannathji Goregaonkar, and you have Rao Bahadur Yashwantrao Desai, who was engineer for Gateway of India, Prince of Wales Museum, NGMA building, GPO, and he is the only engineer who has closely worked with architect George Whitted. So it is very important. Then you have G.K. Devare, who was photographer, a royal court photographer to more than 20 Maharajas from India. Then there are other personalities like Dr. Bhavani Shankar Dadarkar. Then you have Dr. Mantri, who was a dentist and who also treated Motilal Nehru. Then you have Rao Bahadur Raghunath Bhatre, who was a health officer in Mumbai and first health officer in Pandharpur city. Then you have Rao Bahadur Varalkar, Rao Bahadur Ovalkar, Rao Sahib Bantri. So around, I could find around 12 Rao Bahadurs and Rao Sahibs in this particular community who had contributed a lot in development of the community and also different cities and not just Bombay. Then Professor N.S. Takakau, then Rao Bahad, who is in center, who is one of the prominent historians, and then you have Rao Bahadur Wagholkar, who has contributed immensely in the field of agriculture. And then you have on the extreme right, Anna Sahib Mhatre, who is the inventor of the Plato pen and Mhatre writer. So then you have um, uh, this person, Raghunath Rane's son, uh, Krishna Rao Raghunath Rane, um, who was known as Leonardo da Vinci of Juhu, and he was a painter himself, and he had started a museum which doesn't exist today. He had established this museum in his own bungalow in Juhu. Then there were many important people who were part of different organizations, local district local boards, school boards, and one of them is Ramabai Chemburkar, who is regarded as the first female uh, corporator of Maharashtra, who was from Vile. Then you have freedom fighters. I have given a list of around 56 freedom fighters. The famous ones are V.N. Purao from Chembur. Again, another person, Ramkrishna Chemburkar from Chembur. And you can find both of them in the extreme right picture. They are felicited in the village of Chembur, and like after being released from the jail, they are felicited here. So you can see that. Thank you so much. I believe I have completed this on time within 1 hour. So, if there are any questions, I would like to open this session for questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sandeep. This was a very interesting and enlightening presentation,
Thank you.
and actually quite the example of the kind of research that Bombay desperately needs. When we
Yes.
consider its indigenous communities, we know so little about them. I think when you talk of the history of Bombay and It starts with, I think, the infamous 1661 dowry, and then just goes on to list the colonial governors and, the Hornbills and the Bartle Frères and people of the world. And when you talk of architecture again, you're talking of Stevens and Vitat and all. I think this native contribution really needs to come out,
Yes,
because this is, not to sound nationalist, but this is our actual heritage. So I hope you will continue this, what you're talking about, these personalities. As a member of the community, I think you're the right person to bring it out. I also like that it has been fairly objective.
yes.
Uh,
I have published few research articles on few community, few of these eminent personalities. So these are also available online and public can also read about it.
I'm sure we're going to have a sequel in the form of a book of these community leaders.
Sure.
Hmm. Yeah, now we are open for questions. I'm sure there must be plenty of questions.
Yes. Think. Okay. Thank you so much, Yogiraj, Shubhaji, and Ravinder and Vinayak for your comments.
So let me ask the first question. Maybe I will encourage others to ask. Is apart
Okay.
from the Mumbai Sashti area, what is the remaining geographic spread of these Pathare Kshatriyas?
Okay. So we find Pathare Kshatriyas in more than 50 villages. So I have visited all these villages on foot and met a family who was native, different families who are native to these particular villages. So it starts from Virar actually, Satpare, and Sopare or Bhainder, all these villages in Salsett, Mumbai, Puran, Alibag, and Saul. And all these families are living on the western coast only. They are not found in the interiors, not near Pune, Satara, Kolhapur, not in these regions, only on the western coast.
Okay, so Adil Desai has a question. Can you throw some light on the BARC inscription? Show its details in a picture.
Well, well, the inscription about the inscription, Dr. Pandit and others have found this inscription. They have written one research article on this, the Asiatic Society of Mumbai's journal, and you can find a lot of information from that. 2-3 years back, it was published, and the inscription is important because it uh, talks about a king who was the vassal of Firoz Shah Tughlaq, whose name was Hambir Rao, who is also mentioned as Hambir Khan in the Bakhar. And this inscription is important again because it is the first archaeological evidence or epigraphical evidence which talks about this name, which mentions this name Bimbasthana, and that is the reason this inscription is important. Now, another question is asked by Yogiraj. Do Chaukarshi and Pachkalshis of Alibag Murug belong to same community? Well, I'll say, please read my book. You will find some important, what do you say? It's a completely different topic, but I have tried to comment on that, and the comment is there in the book. So you have to read the book for that.
Yogiraj, hopefully you will take up research on that.
Yes, it requires more research, but the community Pachkalshi and Chokalshis are not same, and the difference is of only one kalasha. They were authorized to use simhasan of 4 kalashas. Pachkalshis were authorized to use simhasan of 5 kalashas. But I have talked more about it in the book, so you have to read the book. Next question, please.
Do we know what would be the meaning of Varli Gopchar Bhoy as Vinayak Talwar?
Okay. Varari Gopchar is basically Gopchar is gochara. So that particular land was used for the, like grazing purpose by the cattle. So that was the land which came down traditionally to the mantris of Marai. And in the colonial period, the government of Bombay wanted to, the British government wanted to take over that land because that was a very strategic location. And for that, it is said that Barrister Jidha fought the case for the Matri family, and they won the case, that particular case. And unfortunately, British government wanted that place, so they purchased that land. And because that land was purchased, uh, uh, whatever money was generated was given which was handed over to this particular organization, which was mainly used for charities and educational purposes. And because of that purchasing thing, many Mantri families later on migrated to different parts of Bombay. So that kind of migration is in colonial period is also documented in the book. Next question, please.
Ravinder asks, there are many old villages in Marve, Malad like Kharodi, Rathodi. Were there any Pathare families residing there?
I could find people, Pathare Kshatriyas, only in Malad's Somvar Bazar, the main Malad Gauthan, and in the Malauni region, Malauni village. And most of these villages, villages like Orlin and others, they are today East Indian villages. So we don't know who the East Indians were before their conversion. So I'm not sure about that. But Malad Gauthan and Malauni village for sure, Pathare Kshatriya villages.
Yogini asks, so Pathare Prabhus are a separate community which migrated along with the Pathare Kshatriyas.
Yes, yes, and that's what I have identified. I have identified 29 Kulas or families out of 66 which were migrated with Raja Bimbadeva with the help of Bimbakhyana, which is also known as Mahikavatichi Bakhar. And it is already, I mean, the Bakhar is already published by Rajwade. I have tried to study this Bakhar in a different manner from the community uh, uh, angle of study, from ethnographical view.
Okay. Yogiraj asks, although Pachkalashi are Kshatriya, why is there not much representation of their community in the military?
Well, it's that's a good question, and I think I feel because of Western style of education which was introduced, every person is free to like choose their own profession. So I think they are using that freedom. But it's a good question. But you find that Shatra Tej continued at least till 18th century in the Maratha period, like around 9 families participating in the Battle of Vasai. I don't find. I mean, there are a few families, but apart from this warrior community, I don't find any other reference of other warrior communities which I have discussed here. Their participation in Battle of Vasai. And in the British period also, there were few people who had participated in the war, different wars, and they had helped British. So you have to read the books for that, the eminent personalities chapter for that. Yes.
Nikhil asks, which part of India has the community migrated from to Mumbai? And to which I will add my question as to, are there family connections that have been maintained?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the community migrated from Champaner, which is what the Mahikavatichi Bakhar or Bimbakhyana talks about. And then they went to Python, and from Python, they stayed there for 2 years. Sorry, the king stayed there for 2 years. The families came from Champaner and migrated to Mumbai. So before conquering the whole land, the king, the Pratapa Bimba knew that Shilaharas were ruling the Thane North Konkan from Shri Sthanak or modern Thane city, which was their capital. So it was not the right time to conquer the region. So maybe when some weak king had come, he possibly attacked, and he has attacked a king called Yashwantrao in Thane and conquered the whole region. So the Bakhar gives a different king's name in it, but at the same time, it talks about conquering this whole part, the island city. And when this was conquered, the 66 communities came to Mumbai from Champaner. And the Brahmins, the Yajurvedi Brahmins, who were the family priests of these communities, they came from Paitan. But there are no connections now. Everyone is migrated here, and no one knows who are living in Champaner. So that connection is missing.
Adil Desai asks, which is the oldest temple in the Mahim Shita Devi temple complex?
Structurally, it is the Vitthal Rukmini temple, and if you say sculpture, it is Shitala Devi temple. The
Omkar Salunke
sculpture
asks,
of Shitala Devi.
Omkar Salunke asks that you mentioned about Raja Bhimdev Wadi in the Naigaon area.
Hmm.
Do you have any guess on whether its exact location is known?
No.
Okay. So Yogi Raj has already booked your book. Please share where we can, Amazon links and all. You can share them with me. I'll share them in the group.
Sure, sure.
Any further questions? Well, I guess they're all going to wait to read your book. So congratulations again very much. I
Thank
hope
you so
this is the first of several books that you publish. And I wish, hope that you will open more chapters of the city. Also, more communities need books like this. So all the best to you. And with that, we will close the session today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. See you.